So if I wanted to attend a council meeting, I would now have to climb all the stairs in the Tower of the Hand?
This is Tywin Lannister, and with nothing but words, he's about to destroy the most powerful man in Westeros.
You're a fool if you believe he's the most powerful man in Westeros.
A treasonous statement. Joffrey is king.
I mean, yes, Joffrey is king. So technically, he's supposed to be the most powerful man in Westeros. He sits on the throne, wears the crown, and even summons his grandfather at his feet. All the symbols of power are his, and yet somehow, Tywin Lannister dominates the room. And the way Charles Dance builds to that moment is only one reason why his performance as Tywin is one of the greatest displays of authority ever put on screen. This is a masterclass in what real power truly looks like. So what really makes this scene so powerful? What really makes it one of the greatest displays of authority ever put on screen? As always, I'll talk about all of these things in detail, but first we need some context. This scene takes place right after the Battle of Blackwater, and that timing is everything. Because during the battle itself, Joffrey was cowering behind the walls, trembling in fear, while real men fought to defend his city. Meanwhile, at the very last possible second, Tywin Lannister arrived. He charged in at the head of his army, crushed Stannis' forces, and saved the city. And when the dust settled, everyone knew exactly who was the real hero. So in such a situation, someone like Joffrey, a spoiled little brat, calls Tywin into his presence. Because he was desperate to reassert himself, to remind his grandfather that he should be the one with power. And the thing is, even the scene itself seems to agree with him. I mean, just look at the staging. Joffrey sits high on the throne, elevated and imposing, while Tywin enters from below like a man approaching a mountain. Even when he walks in, he's escorted by the King's Guard, yet another symbol of the King's power. And nothing about this setup is coincidence. The scene gives us all these symbols for one simple reason. So Tywin can systematically destroy every single one of them. And that's exactly what he's about to do.
Yes. I'd like a report on the meetings of my small council.
You're welcome to attend the meetings of your small council, Your Grace. Any or all of them.
I've been very busy. Many important matters require a king's attention.
Of course.
Now I gotta pause here for a second, because this is where Tywin really begins to play his game. First, look at this question again.
You wanted to speak to me.
At first, it might seem like he's just asking a simple question, but if you take a closer look, you'll see that he actually avoids recognizing Joffrey's authority in any meaningful way. He frames this as the king merely wanting something and Tywin is there by choice, as if they're equals. And the beauty of it, he does all this without breaking a single rule of royal etiquette. He still calls him Your Grace, he still refers to the small council as his council, but beneath all that, he doesn't give him the report he asked for. Instead, he hands him responsibility. He implies that if the king wants information, then the king should start doing the job he's supposed to be doing in the first place. And even Joffrey feels the implication and tries to justify himself like a child explaining why homework isn't done. And in that moment, with just the slightest shift in his expression, we see exactly what Tywin thinks of him. Now, before we continue with the video, I just want to give a quick shout out and a big thank you to today's sponsor, Displate. Displate makes premium quality metal posters that let you show off the worlds and stories you love, from Star Wars and Elden Ring to The Witcher and even Marvel. Each Displate arrives in beautiful packaging and mounts effortlessly with a magnetic system. No drilling, no damage to your walls. Just stick, snap, and you're done. And the best part is that you can swap them out anytime you want. Displate comes in 3 finishes: matte, gloss, and textura. Matte gives that soft and timeless look. Gloss adds this rich color and contrast. And textura uses 3D contours and selective gloss to make details literally pop off the surface. I mean, it's unbelievable how real it looks. With over 200 officially licensed collections and tens of thousands of independent artists, there's something for every fandom. And if that's not enough, you can even create your own custom print. So right now, Displate is celebrating Black Friday with their biggest sale ever, up to 46% off. So if you want to let your fandom shine, use the link in the description or my code to get 37% off 1 to 2 Displates, 43% off 3 to 4, and 46% off 5 and more. Once again, huge thanks to Displate for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it.
Of course.
Just look at him again. He hears the lie, but he doesn't even bother calling it out, as if arguing with him will be a waste of time. Technically, he accepts Joffrey's words, but that quick scan from head to toe carries more contempt than any verbal comeback ever could. Meanwhile, Joffrey completely misses it. He actually takes that silence as a validation. You will see it in his smug face. And then he finds a courage to push Tywin even harder.
You've been holding the council meetings in the Tower of the Hand instead of the small council chamber.
I have, yes.
So if I wanted to attend a council meeting, I would now have to climb all the stairs in the Tower of the Hand.
I mean, no matter how you slice it, the imbalance here is almost hilarious. Just look at how Tywin assert his dominance. He doesn't have to raise his voice or even raise an eyebrow. He just walks. And somehow, that simple walk completely rewrites the room. Do you remember the setting I mentioned earlier? Well, as Tywin begins his walk toward the throne, each step rebalances that visual equation. The camera gradually narrows the distance until Tywin fills the frame beside the throne. And by the end of his walk, he's looking down at the king. Not just metaphorically, but literally. But of course, the genius of this moment doesn't stop there because there's still so much happening in Tywin's words, and buried in those words is something even more humiliating.
We could arrange to have you carried.
I mean, this is probably the only way you could ever talk to a king in such a humiliatingly polite way. Technically, Tywin is being perfectly respectful again. After all, kings were carried around all the time in medieval times. But in the context of this scene, he's actually infantilizing the king himself. And the way Tywin looks at him actually tells us everything we need to know. This isn't really an offer at all, it's an ultimatum. If he really wants to attend the council meetings, it will only happen on Tywin's terms, on Tywin's space. And if that means being carried there like a little child, so be it. And the best part of it, while Joffrey's whining about the climb, Tywin is the one who actually makes it, ascending the steps to power without a second thought.
Yes.
You see, that's exactly how Tywin Lannister handles a conversation. The brilliance of him is never in what he says outright. It's in everything he chooses not to say. He was here to report the council meetings to the king, but now that subject is already closed, and somehow it's been replaced entirely by this conversation about whether the king is too lazy to climb some stairs. And the thing is, Joffrey has absolutely no idea how they even got there. But still, stubborn as ever, he takes one more swing at authority, and this time he commands Tywin to tell him about Daenerys. But just like before, Tywin refuses to give him a straight answer.
Tell me about the Targaryen girl in the east.
Where did you hear about this?
Is it true?
Apparently so.
Don't you think we ought to do something about it?
Now, this is where something really interesting happens, because ironically, this is one of those rare moments when Joffrey says something reasonable. Just as he pointed out, a Targaryen girl with 3 dragons is indeed an important issue to deal with, and any competent ruler would at least want to stay ahead of potential threats before they become real problems. So in that split second, Joffrey thinks he's found something his grandfather missed. Watch his face carefully when this happens. It changes suddenly. That confidence he was about to lose comes rushing back all at once, but Tywin sees it too. And even though Joffrey happens to be on the stronger side of the argument for once, it doesn't matter, because Tywin still manages to wield his words like a scalpel and turn the entire situation back in his favor.
When I was Hand of the King under your father's predecessor, the skulls of all the Targaryen dragons were kept in this room. The skull of the last of them, it was the size of an apple.
And the biggest was the size of a carriage.
Yes, and the creature to whom it belonged died 300 years ago. Curiosities on the far side of the world are no threat to us.
Now, if you take a closer look, you'll see that Tywin perfectly frames himself as the voice of experience, the man who's seen it all before, the man who knows better than some impulsive boy what constitutes a real threat. It's actually a rhetorical masterclass that makes Joffrey look ignorant. But again, Joffrey is actually right, because we all know exactly how this story ends. That Targaryen girl across the sea became an invasion force that eventually burned King's Landing to ash. So here, did the mighty Tywin Lannister really miscalculate? Was he so arrogant that he missed the danger entirely? Well, not exactly. Because what if beneath the surface, there's something far more subtle at play? Something that actually hints at the genius of someone else entirely. Now listen carefully to what Tywin says next.
How do we know these dragons are just curiosities and not the beasts that brought the whole world to heel?
Because we have been told as much by the many experts who serve the realm by counseling the king on matters about which he knows nothing.
First of all, yes, this is another subtle insult from Tywin Lannister. He's basically saying that Joffrey knows nothing and he needs other people to think for him. But now don't focus on the insult itself. Focus instead on how Tywin defends his position. Because as you see, he talks about experts, the people who supposedly have real intelligence from across the narrow sea. So, who was the one person consistently feeding information from the east into King's Landing?
No rumor, my lord. The princess is with child.
Based on whose information?
Yes, Varys himself. The same Varys who, as we later learned, secretly supports the Targaryens. Let that sink in for a second. Because if that's really the case, then he was almost certainly feeding Tywin deliberately misleading information about Dany and her dragons. Because if Tywin were ever to learn the full truth too early, he probably wouldn't hesitate for a second, and that would ruin Varys' long game. When you see it that way, everything suddenly makes sense.
Varys. It was Varys the spider.
But of course, in that moment, Tywin doesn't know any of this. In that moment, he has only one thing on his mind: putting this child king back in his place. And with a few cutting words, he shuts down the entire conversation forever.
But I haven't been counseled.
You are being counseled at this very moment.
I should be consulted about such things.
From now on, I will see to it that you are appropriately consulted on important matters, whenever necessary.
I mean, honestly, this is brilliant. This is how someone masterfully promised everything while actually conceding nothing. Again, watch the subtext at work. Joffrey will be consulted, yes, but only to whatever extent Tywin finds convenient, on the topics Tywin considers worth discussing, and the best part of it, it will all happen whenever the hell Tywin wants. On the other hand, just watch what happens to Joffrey. Suddenly, he's not demanding anymore, he's just asking to be kept in the loop. But still, you can see the frustration on his face, that confusion of someone who desperately wants to push back but has absolutely no way to do it because the man has been actively destroying him for 3 straight minutes.
Your Grace.
At the end of the scene, Tywin turns his back to the king and simply walks away without waiting to be dismissed. It's the ultimate power move, silent, deliberate, and impossible to miss. And with the most half-hearted bow imaginable, he tosses out a lazy "Your Grace" as if he almost forgot. But we all know that he didn't. He just let that moment hang in the air, making sure the insult had time to sink in. And by the end, we see that small, private curl of a smile on Tywin's face. He knows exactly what he's done. He's just destroyed a king's authority so smoothly that even the king himself is left wondering what just happened to him. At the end of the day, every time I rewatch this scene, something hits me all over again, something this show whispers repeatedly.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall.
Joffrey may wear the crown, but the crown only matters as long as he makes people believe in it. And sometimes the most powerful people aren't the ones wearing the crown at all. Sometimes they're the ones who can change the stories in others' mind, someone who can cast a very large shadow on the wall. And that's exactly what Tywin Lannister does in that scene. Because in the end, Tywin makes us all, even the king himself, believe him. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a comment, give a like, and click to subscribe.